What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar here, coming at you with another Castlevania 3 commentary video. This one's going to be slightly different from the previous ones. This is me 1cc in Castlevania 3, only playing as Syfa. If you're not familiar with Castlevania 3, Syfa is one of the three companion characters you have available to you throughout the game. The companion characters help you in different ways, basically along a spectrum of combat or utility. Syfa is the strongest of the companion characters, and she is a pure combat character. All she's going to do is help you actually defeat enemies. And this is why she's uniquely viable for a full game run where you only play as her. Originally, I wasn't going to do a commentary for this video because I already talked about Sypha a lot in my Sypha Route 1cc, but I figured people might be more interested in the Sypha only run. There's no guarantee that people who will watch this video will have seen that video, so so whatever. Sypha is different from Trevor in that instead of sub-weapons, she has access to three different spells. And what's interesting is that none of the spells are bad. You have Fire, Ice, and Lightning, coincidentally the same three magic types available in Final Fantasy. And I decided to commentate this one instead of the normal mode run, because in this one you actually see all three spells. I'm going to be using Fire for level 1 here, and this is the last time you're going to see Fire. And like I said, it's not because it's bad, because none of her spells are bad, it's just that her other two spells are even better, especially Lightning, which I'll talk about when we get to it. Um, but the downside with playing as Sypha is that Sypha takes more damage than Trevor. Trevor takes 4 damage per hit in hard mode. Sypha takes 5 damage per hit in hard mode. Now, that might not seem like as much of a problem because you think about it, in Castlevania 3 you have 16 health. So taking 4 damage per hit or 5 damage per hit means that you still only die in 4 hits, both ways. But the problem is that the pot roasts, or like the meat in the wall, restores 8 units of health, meaning that Sypha takes 3 damage, goes down to 1 HP, eats a pot roast, goes up to only to 9 HP, she's 2 hits away from death. Whereas with Trevor, if Trevor took 3 hits, went down to 4 HP, ate pot roast, he'd go back up to 12 HP, and would be 3 hits away from death. I'm sorry if that was a little difficult to understand, but you'll see it. I'll point it out when it crops up, because that's going to happen later on in the run, where Sypha is going to be at um, have an amount of health where the fact that the meat only restores eight units of health is actually relevant. The other downside is that she does not have a whip. She has this puny little cane that you're seeing here, or like a lightsaber or whatever, which does about half the damage of the whip, I think. But the benefit of it is that it comes out instantly and it comes out at head height, and that has really important utility for dealing with some of the more evasive enemies in this game, like the bats or the ravens. So even that downside is really not much of a downside. Fire, incidentally, is interesting because it has roughly the same range and the same like swing time, like lead up as Trevor's whip, but it does literally double the damage. And it also has kind of a wider cone at the end that lets it hit things that the whip otherwise wouldn't, I think. And here's an example of how much damage this thing is doing. That was only 5 shots. It only took me 5 hits to kill this thing with fire. So that's why fire is still good, even though it has a very limited range compared to other spells, because it just does so much damage. And because in comparison to Trevor's whip, you're not actually losing out on um, any range of attack. So that's why it's good. But as I said before, unfortunately, you're not going to be seeing fire again for the rest of the run, because I'll be using the other spells way more. Um, Level 1 in some ways is actually almost easier on Sypha than Trevor because, and this is the case for several spots in Castlevania 3 hard mode, because of the cane and the fact that it comes out instantly, the fact that it comes out at head height, and even though it does less damage from the whip than the whip, it still one-shots ravens and one-shots skulls. And I'm picking up Freeze here specifically for this one spot to kill that ghost because he's tricky to get at, and that was a huge value freeze right there. I froze a ghost and an RNG skull at the same time, and I call them RNG skulls because their patterns are literally random. They sort of go in like a up and down wave, kind of like the Medusa heads, but more dramatic. But they'll sometimes stop and then like bob horizontally directly towards you. So I'm going to call them RNG skulls whenever they appear, and that's why. And they're the most dangerous enemy in the game, specifically because of that factor, the fact that you don't always know exactly what they're going to do. And here I'm going to drop Freeze for Lightning. And Lightning is the best spell that Sypha has available. It's the strongest offensive option in the entire game. It shoots out these 3 orbs of lightning that home in on enemies, so it's super good against owls or ravens or birds or skulls for that matter, and all the most dangerous enemies in the game. The lightning balls do roughly double the damage of a whip hit per ball, which can be a lot of damage if the balls end up going towards the same thing. However, there are certain downsides with them, which I'll point out as they appear. I guess one downside that I can mention right now is that, and this might also explain how I'm playing somewhat, is that if there are lightning projectiles still on the screen, you can't shoot another lightning shot. So see right there, back there, how that lightning orb was orbiting around the red skeleton? I couldn't shoot more lightning until that lightning disappeared. So that can be a downside. Another huge downside of lightning, although this doesn't have so much to do with lightning, is that you'll notice there a fire tome dropped off of that turret. And when I want lightning, I really want lightning. I don't want fire. And losing lightning at inopportune times in this run is like one of the biggest hazards. I probably lost more runs to accidentally picking up fire when I didn't mean to than maybe anything else during the time that I was trying to get this footage. And I swear to God, the game knows when you have lightning and it like conspires to drop fire in front of you. And you might wonder, well, Shovatar, you just said fire was really good. Would it really be that bad to lose lightning? Yes, because lightning is so much better, and lightning is integral to a couple of key moments in the run, which I'll talk about when we get to them. I could probably do this part. I could probably do level 3 with fire. The Cyclops would be a little bit obnoxious, but I could do it. But the reason that I really want lightning here is for certain parts of level 4. And there's not going to be another lightning tome available until level 5. So I really can't lose lightning here. And that's another thing about this run that makes it interesting, which is that it is a 1cc, but there are parts of the run where I really can't die or else it's going to get way harder for me. So there are only a few certain spots where it's like acceptable for me to take a death and maintain my overall game plan. Lightning lightning is Sypha's like reason for existence. Lightning is so good. It is the centerpiece of the entire run. It's what the entire route is built around. Is access to lightning and usage of lightning. Um, and this is a good demonstration of why, because if there's an enemy on the screen, I can just shoot lightning, and I don't even have to aim. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to worry about my positioning. Lightning will just shoot to it and hit it. Although you'll notice right there, I shot lightning right at that spider, and the balls somehow magically swerved around it. And that's because lightning is good, but lightning will arc towards anything on the screen that it classifies as a target, and that includes torches, that includes projectiles, that includes certain kinds of floating, moving platforms. So it doesn't just lock onto enemies, and that can create this bizarre situation where you'll shoot lightning orbs right at an enemy, and they'll somehow hit everything but the thing you want it to kill. Fortunately, here in the Cyclops fight, there's nothing in the entire arena but the Cyclops for the lightning to get at, and he dies super quick. And this is an example of something that would be a gigantic pain in the ass. I was trying to use fire. I'd have to like jump around. I'd have to risk getting hit by him. With lightning, I can just sit on the ledge, kill it, and rescue myself from the statue. There I am standing in front of my own statue. I don't know what that means. But level 3, as always, is not really a problem. Level 4 is a problem, and it is the kind of thing where I'd say lightning, it's the first spot in the run where lightning really becomes noticeable in terms of the difference between what the stage is like with lightning and what the stage is like without lightning. And I think in a moment here, you're going to see an example of lightning completely missing a target. I think it's right here. Yeah, there it is. See that? I don't know what exactly happened there. Lightning just didn't realize there's a zombie, and look at that, fire tomes dropping. This room is an excellent microcosm of everything that can go wrong because the lightning just misses enemies. I get hit by RNG skulls, fire tomes drop, but I get through only taking 1 damage. And whenever the skulls are involved, you just have to be grateful for every point of damage you don't take. Every hit you don't take when the skulls are involved, getting through a room with the skulls, only taking 1 hit is like, you know what? You have to be happy with that. Because even with lightning, those fuckers can still just hit you. Because lightning isn't as fast as they are. And here I'm going to stop for a second because I want to spawn a bat low so the bat doesn't spawn while I'm jumping across those platforms and I accidentally jump into it, which is what would happen if it did spawn there. Castlevania 3 hard mode, one of the biggest differences is the fact that the bats are much more, there's many more bats that spawn, and they spawn in really inopportune places. And here's a good example of lightning being tricky in that you'll notice that lightning was, again, orbiting around those skeletons. And that can be a problem because the bats will just keep respawning, keep coming at you, and I might want lightning projectiles to shoot at the bats, but I can't if they're still orbiting around the dead skeletons. And here's the room where I really want lightning because those 2 guys that you just saw me kill there, that part is really difficult to resolve without lightning. And these ghosts in general on hard mode, on normal mode, they're way slower, so they're way easier to get into a convenient position to hit. But on hard mode, they will come at you super fast, and you have a very limited window to position yourself in a way that you can get to them. But with lightning, it basically fixes it. But you'll notice back there that even with lightning, that thing still wasn't like the lightning wasn't hitting it. The lightning was like missing it. It like wasn't detecting it. And you're going to see. I mentioned that lightning could home onto floating platforms, and you should be seeing that here in a second. I think. Yeah, I can see that one on the right, kind of like figure eighting around between the platforms. That's because for some reason it thinks that the platforms are something that it can hit. And you're probably not going to see that again into the Dracula fight, but I just wanted to demonstrate what I was talking about. Also, fun fact, you'll notice these platforms are bright blue. They're not usually like that. They're usually like a brownish color, and that's because Syfa is bright blue. Usually if you play the stage as Trevor, they're like a normal like brownish color, but for some reason the color of certain floating platforms changes depending on the character you're playing as. This mini boss here, there's a way to kill this guy really fast on Sypha without taking any damage. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it to work. And this is like the worst mini boss fight. This is like the worst Gorgon fight I've ever had on Sypha. If you stand at the right distance away from him and shoot lightning orbs, he'll get hit by like all three lightning orbs at the same time, and he'll lose like all his health. Because I mentioned that each orb does double whip damage, so it's like you're hitting him with fucking like six whip shots at the same time, and he just fucking melts. But unfortunately, I didn't. All the attempts where I successfully did that, none of those attempts were ultimately successful attempts. So, oh well. That's uh, that's always the caveat with these videos is that like, man, I really wish the attempt where I did the really cool thing that I talk about was the attempt that worked, but oh well. And here you're going to see another example in a second here of lightning just not behaving. Uh, yeah, the lightning orbs. They hit that guy. It hits that guy who's like a screen away, but it doesn't hit the fucking bird. And it's like so crazy to me how even when you use lightning, even when you use this spell that seems tailor-made to hit these fucking birds, the birds still just don't get hit by it. Like if it wasn't for the skulls, the birds would absolutely 100% be the worst enemy in this entire game because their movement patterns are, I mean, that's more to do with lightning and sort of the vagaries of lightning than with the birds themselves, because lightning can just as easily hit a target that's completely stationary. But the thing is that you really want lightning to hit those birds when you throw the lightning at it because they're so difficult to predict and so difficult to react to. Because sometimes they'll dive right at you, sometimes they'll dive high, sometimes they'll dive low, sometimes they'll like swoop off to the side or like stay in place for a little bit. It's really difficult to describe, but they can do different things, and you don't always know necessarily what they're going to do. And lightning is supposed to remove that uncertainty from the equation, but sometimes it just doesn't. Fortunately, though, now that I'm at this part of level 4, I'm sort of past the part where I could. And I stopped there for a second on the stairs because I thought I might have walked into the fire tome, and I really don't want to lose lightning for the fight coming up. Because the fight coming up is going to be a mini monster mash where I fight the mummies and the cyclops. But yeah, at this point, I'm past the difficult parts of level 4. The boss fight with lightning is not difficult. As you're going to see in a second, lightning absolutely shreds the mummies, and as I demonstrated in level 3, it's really good against the cyclops too. Yeah, check this out. Boom. You see that? Look at that. Ah, I love seeing that. I fucking hate the mummies, man. I fucking hate every iteration of the mummy bosses in Castlevania 1 and in Castlevania 3. So the fact that lightning just fucking demolishes them is so satisfying to watch. And I think it works so well because the lightning is homing. There's two mummies for the lightning to home in on, and there's also like the projectiles they shoot that I'm assuming the lightning is also trying to hit, although I'm really not 100% sure. Cyclops fight, not much to say, pretty much exactly the same as the last one, except I do that little swag hit at the very end, because I know that I have enough health to survive if I fuck up and he hits me. Um, I guess I just wanted to do that, maybe to make up for the fact that the Gorgon kill was so terrible and unflashy. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have done that. I only did that because I knew I had enough health that if I fucked up the timing, it wouldn't kill me. Level 5. Level 5. So level 5 is a part where it's tricky. So I really want lightning for 5-3 because 5C I should say, because 5C is like this gauntlet of stairs and turrets where lightning is sort of like how you cheese it, how you get through it consistently. But the thing is that there's a lightning tome available right before 5C. So if I die during 5A or 5B, it's not really the end of the world, but I really don't want to do it because, as you can see here, lightning is really useful for these gargoyles. Because fire is just like, I mean, fire is good at killing them, but lightning is just better. That's sort of like the Syfa equation, where it's like everything she has is good, but lightning is just so much better than everything else. Like I fuck these guys up in ways I would never be able to do if it wasn't for, except for when that happens. That's the balancing factor of lightning, is that sometimes it just doesn't notice the gigantic golden gargoyle right in front of you that's the only thing on the screen that you want to hit, and it just fucking spazzes out. And then sometimes it overperforms and kills two gargoyles that weren't even going to hit me anyway. So I shouldn't complain. There's no reason to complain. Lightning is the best spell in the game. That's the only thing about it that makes it remotely balanced, but it is a little irritating when it doesn't behave like that. When it doesn't behave the way that I expect it to or the way that I think that it should. But like I was saying, I could technically die here, or I could like drop lightning for something else, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. But 5C lightning is essential for a lot of parts of 5B. Lightning just makes it a lot easier. Freeze would also do fine against these guys, but with lightning, I don't even have to get close to them. I can take my sweet ass time killing them before I'm even in their zip code. Whereas light with is freeze, I would actually have to get close to them. I guess I should apologize if this is boring to watch, just seeing Sypha demolish everything with lightning. But hey, that's just what she does, man. That's just her thing. I mean, in fairness, this part isn't super difficult. This part wouldn't be super difficult anyway, and the fact that it's a vertical auto-scroller means that my pace through it is dictated by the game, meaning that I have to take it kind of slow. So if it's boring, it's also not totally my fault. So here I walk up into the guy because I thought that lightning orb that was like curving around above him was going to curve down and hit him, but instead it was aiming for the torch. So it just destroyed the torch and then ignored him. So whatever. That's on me, I guess, for assuming that lightning would do something that it hadn't done yet. And this is the room with the extra lightning tome in it. Another reason why I wouldn't necessarily want to die and lose lightning before 5C is because in order to get this tome, I would have to deal with more of these gargoyles. And lightning is really good at dealing with them, but like every gargoyle that I have to deal with, there's always a chance that something goes wrong. Like you saw in 5A when I was going up the stairs, the lightning orbs just didn't fucking hit them. You just never know exactly what's going to happen with lightning. So I'd rather not take any unnecessary risks. In a game that's as difficult as Castlevania 3, eliminating unnecessary risks is super important, especially if you're a psychopath like me who wants to 1cc it. So this is 5C. Speaking of boring, this whole thing is going to be pretty boring, but again, it's the only way to do this. Okay, it's not the only way to do this consistently. It's the easiest way to do this consistently. The way that you do this without lightning would be either stopwatch spam your way through it, get the stopwatch, hoard up a bunch of hearts, and then just spam the stopwatch to go up the stairs, or you can learn the timings and the positionings on the stairs where you can stand to intercept the fireballs so that they don't hit you. And then you can kind of like stand in between the fireballs in certain spots. It's kind of difficult to describe, but basically it's way more difficult and way more involved than just doing what I'm doing here. And it actually probably would be easier on Sypha because her attack is instant. You don't have to worry about whip timings. You don't have to worry about being a certain distance away from the turret in order to hit the projectiles, but I don't even want to bother. Lightning is also really good for this part. Jesus. Okay, I walk into that guy again. That's not good. See, this is the problem. So in order to use the special attack in Castlevania 3, you have to hit up and B. Same with Castlevania 1. And the problem with that is that up makes you walk upstairs. So if you're on stairs and trying to use your special ability at the same time, you have to kind of like bully the game into doing what you want. And this is actually a good example here of the damage factor. And why Sypha taking more damage is relevant. Because you see here, I've now taken 3 damage, and I'm gonna get a meat out of a block here in a second. There, now I'm at 9 health. Now I'm 2 hits away from death. Whereas if I was playing Trevor and I'd taken those hits on Trevor, I would have more health and now be 3 hits away from death. And that's a problem because this boss is easy, but he's not easy to do without taking any points of damage. He's really like a damage race kind of boss. And I started off the fight super close to him because, like the Gorgon, there's a spacing, there's like a positioning you can be at when he first spawns to hit him with 3 lightning orbs at once and knock off a bunch of health. But again, of course, I didn't get it on the attempts when I successfully 1cc'd the game. So whatever, you guys are just gonna have to trust me that that spot exists. And instead of doing that, I just had to play super safe and stand up on the platforms back there. But I got through it. And now level 6 is a gigantic problem, and it's an area of the game where I absolutely cannot die. Like what I said about level 5, I said it's nice if I don't die, I'd rather not die, but if I do die and I lose lightning, it's not the end of the world. That is not the case here. I have to get through 6A, 6B, 6C, 6D. I have to get through the entire level without losing lightning, because lightning is really important for the level 6 boss. The level 6 boss is kind of like the level 5 boss, where it's not, I mean, it's tricky, but the real difficulty is getting through the fight without taking any unnecessary damage, and there's like gauntlets before you get to that guy where you're probably going to take a lot of damage. So level 6 is the first big problem area in like a Syfa only run because A, it's super difficult, B, the damage that you take is actually going to be relevant, and C, you losing lightning is absolutely disastrous. And it's super easy to do here in 6B because you have the fucking water currents pushing you around and fucking with you. Like I can't tell you how many times I've been accidentally knocked into a fire tome or a freeze tome or a fucking stopwatch by these goddamn fish. Like it's terrible. See, there's a stopwatch right there. And again, if I could use freeze, that was just bad. I don't know why I did that. I think I was panicking and I thought I wanted to get close to the turret to like intercept the projectiles, but that was just not a good decision on my part to get that close to it. If I could use freeze and back there in 6B, I could have frozen the river temporarily to stop the current, but I want lightning for the boss, so I can't pick up the freeze tome and take advantage of it to make 6B any easier. I just have to suffer through it. And you also can't take advantage of lightning in the same way in 6B because stopping to cast lightning pushes you back, which I think can like cause you to hit like a spawn trigger. I don't really know how the fish in 6B work, but it's just a giant pain in the ass. This part is also a giant pain in the ass, but I discovered that if I stand up here, then any bat that gets close to me, I can just melee and I can just shoot lightning at that turret down there from a place of safety. But unfortunately, there's no other safe zone really here in the entire level, and that is horseshit. I jump into a bat that spawns before I can even see that it's there, and now I have to play hyper cautious. And I'm utilizing a protocol here that I developed specifically for this level, where I do not shoot lightning orbs unless there's a bat on the screen. That is why I'm standing here doing nothing. That is my rule, my ironclad rule if I'm one hit away from death on 6C, is do not shoot lightning unless there's a bat on the screen, because I don't know the timings. If I was better at this game, I'd be able to count out the timings of when they show up and when they don't show up. I'd know, like, every 3 seconds a bat shows up, but I don't know that for sure, and it's just so much simpler to just take it slow and only shoot lightning orbs if there's a bat on the screen, and it works out and I get out. But the thing is that this is still really bad because what I mentioned about the level 6 boss, how it's difficult to get through it without taking at least some damage, that is now coupled with the downside of Sypha's health to create a precarious situation because there's going to be a meat in the wall up here, but the meat is only going to get me up to 9 health, which is 2 hits away from death, instead of the 3 hits away from death that I'd be at if I was playing as Trevor. And that might not sound like a problem, but on the level 6 boss, trust me, it's a fucking problem because it comes in and out of the water, and it can come up at like different spaces, different places, and different times. It has all these different patterns, and it's just super. It's relatively unpredictable. It's probably the most unpredictable boss in the game that I can think of, except maybe the fucking Bone Serpent and the Sunken Temple and the Alucard route. But that's a conversation for another time. This is another place where I'm just taking it super slow. I'm shooting lightning before I try to jump across gaps up there because the fish guys jump up from the water, and I just want to make sure I can catch them before they hit me. And now I've reached level 6 with lightning, and you're going to see in a moment why lightning is so important for this boss. Check this out. Look at that. He's almost dead. One cycle, and he's almost dead, and now, is he just going to die right here? Yeah, one of them's already dead. So this is why lightning is so good. Freeze can't do anything to this boss at all. Freeze doesn't do anything to bosses, and then fire, I would have to like really awkwardly position myself to try to hit them with fire. With lightning, I don't take a single point of damage. I can just stand on the central platform, shoot lightning. Lightning does all the work for me. So I'm now past a really big danger zone. And I'm pretty much safe. I can die in level 7, I can die in level 8 because there's lightning at the very end of level 7. The level 7 boss is a big monster mash with a Cyclops and a demon and a mummy. So I can die on level 7 and that's not a big deal. But I'm actually going to pick up lightning here because, like I just mentioned, there's lightning. I'm going to pick up freeze here rather because there's lightning before the level 7 boss, and because there are a few places in level 7 where freeze is just more convenient. That's one thing, is you can use freeze to destroy those little fuzzy things that go around platforms. Nothing else destroys them but freeze. But the main reason I'm picking up freeze is because there are turrets later on, and the turrets, it wouldn't be a huge. It takes 3 hearts three lightning shots to kill a turret. And it's much more economical heart-wise to just use freeze to freeze them once and then destroy them with the cane. The downside of killing things with freeze is that when you shatter them, they don't drop any hearts. They don't drop anything if you kill them with freeze. But that's really not a huge deal because you save so many hearts based on freeze versus lightning in terms of each enemy you destroy. Oh, and check this out. You see that? I froze the Igor underneath the little harpy, and then another Igor just spontaneously appeared. I cannot explain that. I don't know why that happens. I don't know that much about the game. I just know how to play it. You know. So like I said, I'm using freeze mostly for the turrets and for the axe knights up there. But it's not super necessary. And here I'm actually going to take damage pretty much intentionally. Um, I'm going to jump across this ledge here, and then I'm going to jump again. And I really don't care if I get hit there because there's meat up in the wall on the top, and I just don't want to get knocked into the pit. Now there, I did not want to take damage. My plan was to pretty much just take one hit of damage and then go get the meat to recuperate it. But now that I've taken two hits, getting the meat will only bring me up to, I think, 14 health, which will bring me three hits away from death instead of, like I keep saying, if I was Trevor and I took two hits and I ate meat, I'd be at full health. But with Syfa, I'm not. That's the trade-off. That's the downside. But it shouldn't be a huge deal because it's very easy to do the level 7 boss without taking any damage if you're playing as Sypha with lightning. Um, and the area right before this level 7 boss will be a lot easier because I have freeze, which I'll talk about in a second. This part is actually difficult. There's a jump I have to do at the very end of this screen that's really tricky. It's this one here. Ugh, I hate even looking at that. Nowadays, when I do that jump, I take it slow. I'll walk to the very edge of the ledge and then I'll move forward and jump. But back when I was collecting this footage, I didn't like have that technique down. So I basically risked it and just tried to do it based off of like instinct and muscle memory. It's very, very difficult. I don't know if it seemed easy or not, but that jump is actually super, super precise. And this is the other reason that I use freeze here is to kill those red skeletons, because nothing else will permakill the red whip skeletons except for freeze. Sort of like the fuzzballs. But you know, that's really more of a convenience thing. It really wouldn't matter if I brought lightning there. And here I get a lightning tome right before the boss, so I can actually kill it. There it is. This part is not difficult. You can jump on these little breakable blocks to delay their eventual destruction. And off we go. And there's a funny little trick here with that red skeleton. Let's see if I demonstrate it here. I think I will. Yeah, see, when you get too close to the boss room, all other enemies despawn, and but if you walk back away from the boss room, they don't respawn. So the game makes the red skeleton despawn, but then it doesn't respawn. So that's the other way you can permanently get rid of a red skeleton is just by doing that. Unfortunately, that's the only place in the game where I think you can really do that. Here, I could be killing these mummies faster if I was one tier lower, like on the platform that's closer to their head height. I could replicate what I did in level 4 and try to get a more horizontally aligned lightning shot. But that would also put me in range of their wrappings, and I just don't want to take any unnecessary risks, as I'm always saying. And I'm 3 hits away from death, and you just never know when things are going to go wrong in this game. The Cyclops is not a place where anything can go wrong. This is actually the easiest Cyclops fight because you have so much height on him. And then it's on to this guy, who is tricky. He's not difficult because he just does these 3 big stomps and then he shoots projectiles at you, and then the lightning is good at intercepting the projectiles. This is not good. When he jumped up on that platform, you're gonna see, yeah, okay. Lightning is really good at hitting things when you're directly under them. Lightning is really good at traveling upwards. So when he first jumped on that upper platform, I probably should have just stayed underneath him and shot lightning instead of like getting myself into that corner. I don't really know why I did that. But it doesn't matter. He dies. I don't take any damage. Really good level 7. 7, the only thing about 7 that's really dangerous is that jump that I was talking about, even for a Cypher run. It might have looked a little bit hairy back there with like the turrets, but that was a totally avoidable error. Level 8, what can I say about level 8? Level 8 is another place where it's okay for me to die because there's lightning right before the Grim Reaper fight. But I don't want to lose lightning here because lightning also makes the first room of 8-2 a lot easier, which I'll talk about when I get there. You'll notice that a bat hit me there. 8-1 is the only place in the 8-1 on hard mode is the only place in the entire game where you see zombies in bathrobes. They gave the zombies bathrobes in level 8 to make them take one more point of damage before they die. So getting through that area without lightning, without some kind of sub weapon, is actually pretty tricky. Just doing it with the whip because they take so much damage to die and they're constantly respawning. But there, I had lightning, so it wasn't a problem. But I got hit anyway by that bat. So you can never account for these fucking bats, man. The bats and the birds. So here's the room coming up here that I want lightning for, because as you're going to see in a second, there's a bone thrower. Yeah, there he is. And if you don't kill him while he's up there, you have to put up with him throwing bones at you while you're trying to get through this whole area. And this is horseshit. That makes me really mad. The blobs are extremely difficult to hit. Lightning has a tough time finding them. There's so much else in the room for lightning to home in on. That's why that happened. And I'm really, really, really not happy about that. And you'll see why later. Um, but for now, level 8 is generally not a problem. The only it's sort of like the inverse of, or not the inverse. It's different from doing the fight with Trevor because without Trevor, no Trevor means no holy water, which means I'm gonna actually have to do like the Grim Reaper boss fight properly. I'm gonna have to actually like engage with the mechanics, which is something that I'm not used to, and that was definitely one of the biggest problems of learning this run, because most of this run, like okay, Dracula 3, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse is a hard game. There's no denying that, but Syfa with lightning trivializes so much of it and turns so much of it into just like shoot lightning at a room and then watch it kill everything, that most of it honestly is not that hard in the context of like Castlevania 3 challenge runs. Like you'll notice that I actually like I've only been on the verge of death like a couple times. I was on the verge of death in level 4 and then like parts of level 5, but even then like I was never in serious danger. So this is like the big challenge here in this part of the game is the Grim Reaper fight. And as you can see, I'm not doing it super well. Uh, Lightning is also not really cooperating. It's kind of taking odd routes to get to the Grim Reaper. And so now I'm on phase 2 with 1 HP, which is not what you want, because phase 2 is not as hard as phase 1, but it can be tricky and it can be difficult to get through without taking damage. And here I'm so scared of the scythe that I jump into the skull and I die, because the skull was off the screen and the scythe went below the screen before lightning could get to it and destroy it earlier. And there's the first death of the run. And I want to point out that if that fucking green blob hadn't hit me in 8-2, then I would have had one more health to get through that fight. Because remember, I was 3 hits away from death when I started the Grim Reaper fight, because the way that Sypha's health and the damage that Sypha takes interacts with the pot roast. So if that fucking little blob hadn't hit me, I might have killed the Grim Reaper there. Because I don't think I would have taken another point of damage. I mean, I don't know, obviously, what would have happened, but I think I probably could have just killed him after taking that damage, because he would have been in a more opportune place to actually hit him with lightning. Half of the trouble in this fight is just getting him to get hit by lightning, and look at that shit there. Lightning absolutely shreds him and he dies in 3 seconds. That's what I should have done every fucking time. That's kind of like the holy water cheese, where when you do this fight with holy water, you want to throw holy water at him as soon as he gets to the floor. There, I shot lightning as soon as he got to the floor, and he got hit by like all 3 balls of lightning at the same time, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier with the Gorgon and the Frankenstein fight. So I should have done that shit every single fucking time, man. I'm pissed off about that. And then look at that. That's a perfect Grim Reaper fight. That's a perfect Grim Reaper fight. That's 0 damage. That is 0 damage. God damn. See, if only I'd done that the first fucking time, man, instead of panicking and running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But in fairness, a lot of the trouble I had with that failed Grim Reaper fight was with lightning going in odd directions and doing odd things. So getting past the Grim Reaper fight's difficult, but the real problem is level 9, because I cannot lose lightning in 9-1 or in 9-2. I need lightning to get through 9-2, and there's no lightning right before 9-2 the way there's lightning before 5C. So this Igor Gauntlet, which is normally an inconvenience if you're playing as Trevor, is a lot harder on Sypha, because the Harpies drop the Igors at a distance where if you're using Trevor, they're always within the range of Trevor's whip. But if you're playing as Syfa, Syfa doesn't have the whip. She has the shorter range cane, so I have to kind of like walk towards them to hit them. And I also don't want to spend all of my lightning shots, so I have to save it for like an emergency when I feel like things are getting out of hand. So this can actually be dangerous, but I get through it completely fine. I use lightning when I'm supposed to use lightning, and I react quickly enough to not take any damage. So that was really good. That's not a problem. But 9-2 is definitely tricky, and it's a lot like 5C where lightning is kind of the only option that Sypha has to get through it consistently. I don't know. Maybe freeze could help, but it would just be so much. It's just so much easier with lightning, as is all too often the case. This is a part where I have fucked up many times before because Sypha, if you jump into the side of those spikes, then they insta kill you. You don't. It's not just like getting hit by the spike as they going down as they go down. No. If you touch the spikes at all, they kill you. And if you don't time that jump there correctly, Sypha can bonk the side of her head into the spikes and get insta killed, which of course is bad. That's not something that I want, but that didn't happen there. 9-2 is actually the best demonstration of how overpowered lightning is because the level of difficulty between doing this room with lightning and doing this room with any other tools in the game is like the gap between the moon and the sun and Pluto. This room is so hard and so tricky and so punishing if you're doing it with Trevor, if you're doing with Sypha without lightning, but with lightning, this is just a fucking cakewalk. Like I didn't take a single point of damage. I did not take a single point of damage on 9-2. And if you don't know anything about this game, trust me, that is fucking remarkable because it is so easy to get hit in that stage. 9-3. Is 9-3 a problem? Nothing about 9-3 is really a problem. Um, 9-2 is bad because I don't want to I can't get through it without lightning. So if I die on 9-2, I pretty much just have to restart. 9-3, I also don't really want to die on 9-3 because it's another vertical auto scroller like 5B is, and I want to have lightning to kill enemies that are above me or enemies that I don't want to have to try to jump into. But I'm not going to die on 9-3. Like I've died on 9-3 before. I think if you watch my Sypha route 1cc, you'll see me die on 9-3 actually several times, but that was after something else had already gone wrong, and that was just kind of like a bad situation. Generally speaking, I don't die on 9-3. What's interesting is that there is meat at the end of 9-3, which you can get if you take damage on 9-3 to replenish your health. But the problem is that on hard mode, the meat at the end of 9-3 is positioned beneath like a ghost and near a bunch of bats, and it's just really hard to actually get to without taking damage and without risking death. With Sypha, that's not a problem because lightning is really good at killing ghosts, lightning is really good at dealing with bats. So Sypha with lightning is actually the only way that you can get the 9-3 meat safely and consistently. But the irony, of course, is that if you have Sypha with lightning, then you probably got through 9-2 just fine, and you probably got through 9-3 just fine, and you don't need the meat in the first place. I say safely and consistently because it is definitely possible to get the meat without taking damage without Sypha, but it's hard to do it. It's hard to do it a lot. A lot. It's hard to do it consistently. How many times am I going to say the word consistently in this run? Let's hopefully somebody keeps track. Don't actually keep track. It's a waste of your time. And here we are in 9-4. This, ladies and gentlemen, is hell on earth is 9-4. And this is a part of the run where I can die, but I really don't want to. There's lightning halfway through 9-4. At the left end of the stage, there is lightning that I can pick up that I can use to kill the boss, which I'm gonna need lightning to kill the boss, and I'm gonna want lightning to get through a gauntlet right before the boss. But lightning is also super helpful in this part of the room, and there, again, it didn't even matter. The bird flew right through 3 lightning projectiles and hit me. So even with lightning, this room is still a gigantic fucking pain in the ass, and I cannot believe what I just witnessed. I cannot believe what I just saw happen with that bird. 9-4 is the hardest part of the entire game, and these birds don't give any fucks. And even with lightning, it's like See, look at how close that was. That thing could have hit me so fucking easily. And now, what's my reward? My reward is going through a gauntlet of fucking RNG skulls. Look at this. This is okay. This is like 9-2. It's another part where lightning is super helpful. The skulls gave me a pretty nice pattern, so lightning didn't end up being super relevant, but that could have gone wrong so easily. And taking 2 damage on 9-4 when you go through the first part of 9-4 with lightning is like come the fuck on, man. Like getting to 9-4 with lightning is supposed to make that shit easy. It's supposed to make it so that you don't get hit by those first 2 birds. But the first 2 birds are the first 2 birds that hit me. So it's like, what the fuck? I guess I should explain what the fuck just happened. So the doppelganger is a really difficult fight, but it's also really stupid. And if you get above or below the doppelganger, it can get confused and just stand still and attack empty air and just let you kill it. And that's why I really want lightning for the doppelganger fight, because I can just stand up there in the little corner, shoot lightning down at it, and it just dies. I don't have to worry about it. I can't really imagine what it would be like trying to do that boss without lightning on Syfa or the holy water on Trevor. Those are the 2 sub weapons that let you cheese that fight. And here, oh, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? So level A is another part where I don't want to lose lightning. I pretty much can't lose lightning here. If I get to A2 and I die, then I can lose lightning, and it's like, and it's not bad, but I cannot die in A1 and lose lightning. And there's 2 reasons why I don't want to lose lightning in level A in general, but especially A1 in particular. The second room of A1, the room after this RNG skull auto scroller, down auto scroller, you basically need lightning to get through it without taking damage. And I've taken so much damage from these fucking skulls already that I'm now in perilous straits. There's a turret at the very end of A1 that's really difficult to kill, generally speaking, so what people usually do is just to intentionally take damage to get past it. But now I can only do that if I don't take any damage throughout the entire rest of the screen, and then look at that. Sypha's too tall, the top of her forehead gets clipped by the fucking bat, and now I have to risk actually killing this turret. Fortunately, with lightning, there's a sweet spot you can stand in here to shoot the turret safely. And what worked out there is that I mentioned that lightning will home in on torches and enemies and projectiles, and that includes the fireballs that the turrets shoot. So the reason that worked out is because the turret shot a fireball, and lightning aimed for the fireball and the turret at the same time, so 2 lightning balls hit the turret when otherwise only 1 would have, and it helped me kill it super fast and get through that part super fast. So I'm past the first hurdle. The second hurdle, or rather the second reason that I want lightning, is actually the Dracula fight itself, because Phase 3 of Dracula involves jumping around on platforms to hit him unless you have either the axe subweapon that Trevor or Grant can use, or you have lightning that Syfa can use. Obviously, I don't have access to the axe because I don't have Grant or Trevor. I just have Syfa with lightning. And beating Dracula with lightning is way easier than beating Dracula with fire. I've done it with fire, lightning's easier. And here, a bat fucking spawns out of the side of the fucking screen and hits me, and now I'm 1 hit away from death, having to climb across these platforms and get to the Dracula fight. So what this means is that A, I can't get hit by any of these bats, I can't fall off these platforms the bats are trying to get me to fall off of, and I can't take any damage on phases on Dracula if I want to beat the encounter. So that's the situation that I'm in right now. And if I die on Dracula, it's went from A2 to A3 in the top of the screen there, but if I die to Dracula, I go back to the beginning of A2, which means I have to do the bats again with fire and without lightning, which is another thing that I really don't want. The bats were nice to me. What you just saw there on the A2 with the jumping across the pendulums, the bats were pretty nice. They mostly spawned in behind me, except for the bat that fucking spawned right out from beside the screen and hit me on the staircase. That bat was a fucking dick, but the other bats gave me a break. If the bats don't give me a break, then trying to do the platforming there without lightning can be a serious problem. And I'm stocking up on lightning here because I'm not hitting this fucker with the cane. I'm not getting up in Dracula's fucking face with the cane when I'm 1 hit away from death. My plan is to only shoot lightning at this guy to kill him. I mean, that would be the plan no matter what my health was, but it's especially imperative here. And I'm a little bit nervous here because I'm not used to doing phase 1 of Dracula with Syfa. And that actually leads to a bit of a problem in a moment here where he dies before I think he's going to. And this is potentially a problem because I usually, when I do the Dracula fight, I usually kill phase 1 of Dracula when he's over next to the throne, so that this like big floating organ thing always spawns over there. And that's important because the pattern where the way this thing moves is dependent upon where it spawns. So if it spawns there, I always know how it's going to move. Here, I kill Dracula before I mean to, so I don't really know how this thing's going to move, but it ultimately doesn't matter because lightning kills it so fast. And speaking of lightning killing things so fast, now we're on phase 3, and I only have to hit this guy with 8 lightning orbs to kill him. And if I just keep moving back and forth over here on the left side of the screen, don't get hit by the little lasers, then I am going to be A-okay. And that's basically what you're watching here. And this is why the lightning is so important. If I tried to do this fight with fire, I'd have to like jump around on the fucking platforms and like shoot fire at his face while I'm at 1 HP, while the platforms are opening up holes in the ground. Like, are you fucking serious? So that's why it's really good to get to Dracula with lightning. And you'll also notice that the lightning is behaving oddly, orbiting around those floating platforms. That's again what I was talking about in level 4. And there he is. He just fucking falls over dead. Syfa absolutely demolishes Dracula with lightning, just like lightning demolishes the rest of the game. And there it is. It's a 1cc. I have to mention, I have to toot my own horn. That was a 1-death run. So if I had played that Grim Reaper fight a little bit better, this actually could have been a 1LC. This actually could have been a deathless run had I played that better. And that, if nothing else, should prove to you how powerful Syfa actually is in this game. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could go back and try again and try to get a deathless run, but my only goal was 1cc. And I'm just going to take what I got. And here we are at the very end. Syfa dramatically reveals that she was a lady the whole time. What a shock. And Trevor gets all the credit. Imagine that. Typical misogynist video game. After Syfa fucking gets all the work done for him, he sweeps in and takes all the credit. What a despicable man. Interesting note here about the name Syfa. So Syfa. It's apparently in later games spelled Sypha. I didn't know that because I'm just going through the series like one game at a time. I don't know anything about the later games in the series, but and like it's officially Sypha with PH, but I don't fucking get that at all. I think the F works perfectly fine. So I'm not going to change it in any of my titles, and if you have a problem with that, you can go fucking kill yourself. I'm sorry, that was a terrible thing to say. You can go fuck yourself. That's better. That's a lot better. Um, Fun fact about the name Sypha, actually, I looked this up while I was trying to like resolve the whole like PHF confusion. The name Sypha, what's her fucking name in this game? Sypha Bel Numdes or something. Is how it's rendered in this game. It's actually based off of Sypha is based off of cipher, like the cipher for a code, because she's mysterious. And then Belnundes is supposed to be Fernandez. I think the actual Japanese name is like Saifa Fernandez or something like that. I have to look that up. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but it's supposed to be Cypher Fernandez, but for some reason they changed it to Sypha Belnundes. Now I understand changing Cypher to Sypha because Cypher is not a real name, but I don't know why they couldn't just keep Fernandez. Especially because I do happen to know this about the later games in the series. In the later games, there actually is a character with a last name Fernandez who's supposed to be related to that lady. So one character who was named Fernandez got the name changed, and then the other character got the name kept the name the same. I don't get it. I don't get why she couldn't just be Sypha Fernandez. It's Cypher because she's mysterious, and then it's Fernandez because I guess she's Spanish or something. Or supposed to be. So I don't understand that at all. I don't know why that's the way that it is. Belmont is a lot more straightforward. And there you guys go. That's the run. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope in between my caffeinated rambling, I was able to give you guys some insight.